for the first time, kind of being on the outside and having to see what was going on. And I can't say that I was ever really worried that the station would not survive. I really had a sense of confidence in you and Craig and the staff that was still there. I just had a feeling it was going to be fine, which made it difficult because when it did turn out to be okay, I felt a real sense of loss that I wasn't a part of that. It was the first big thing at Radio Carleton for 5 years that I hadn't been directly involved in, and I felt that sense of loss and camaraderie. But
and of course, the last challenge that we faced, and it was a serious one, it was Shea FM. Because they came on, and some people were worried they were going to eat our lunch. And as a matter of fact, I think, in all fair in love and war, I think Harvey saw us as a bit of a farm team and decided, we're just going to pick the best people there. Now, it turned out that they picked the best commercial people, so it was a loss, but it wasn't a major loss to our sound.
No, it was a loss at the time, though.
Yeah, but we certainly weren't looking at it as we're going to change our format or we're going to change our musical approach to things because Shea is much more popular or will be much more popular. And I was trying to compare the difference between, I don't know how effective this analogy is, but between Shea and ourselves. And we were basically Genesis with Peter Gabriel, and they were Genesis with Phil Collins.
Interesting comparison.
Yeah, exactly. But what I found, and I do want to get this on the record because there were some major people that did leave, some good announcers that did leave our station, and some production people. Greeno went over there, for instance.
Yep.
And
they'd already got rid of him.
There seems, yeah, that's true. But
Steve Caldwell.
Yeah, Steve Caldwell, Jimmy Hercom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Greg
Torrington.
Greg.
But there's
Greg,
among some of these people, there's a feeling that Shea was just an extension of CKCU, or Shea was CKCU on steroids, and I completely disagree. We were completely different. And if I knew Harvey casually, when I brought in Harvey Glatt and said, "Were you trying to imitate us?" He'd say, "No, of course not. You guys had a model, wasn't making any money. Why would I do that?"
Too true.
Yeah.
No, that was some people's idea of what Radio Carleton should be, but that was not our
idea.
And
us in La Resistance.
Yes. No.
we had to leave the city when we left CKCU.
Something different.
Absolutely.
Something completely different.
Yeah, so
so we're just about we're finished.
We're near
except
We're nearly there, man. Okay, Evan?
Yeah, he left for a while. I thought, oh my God.
So
have you fallen? I can't get up. I've fallen over.
We haven't made it to the 80s, man.
I want to say this before we move on a bit. There are some experiences that you have that are a once in a lifetime thing, and being a part of Radio Carleton during the early years, before, during, and the FM license, that happens once in a lifetime if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, it doesn't happen.
I'll tell you what, I've been involved in my career in several startups in alternative media, with newspapers principally. And the one that I refer back to that is closest to my mind and my heart is CKCU FM. Yeah. And in some ways, it really reflects what I think is the best in Canadians, in the sense it was politically progressive, ethnically diverse. It was musically progressive, I think, as well.
Very much.
And it was curious. Always curious about the outside world and the internal world as well. And I think those are qualities that Canadians think of themselves as having.
I agree with you. And we were complex. And Canada is a complex country, and this station accepted complexity as normal.
We encouraged it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and difference was valued.
Diversity, there's nothing wrong with diversity. As a matter of fact, we were out against homogenization, and that was the problem with FM and AM radio. They all sounded
Can you
alike.
say that on the radio?
Horribly. Okay, so
And adaptable. And that
Oh,
was the
yes.
I think the final challenge was adaptability, because if you can't adapt, you can't survive. And we adapt.
and we bounced from crisis to crisis,
What
and we
doesn't
adjusted.
kill you
Exactly.
Makes you stronger.
Makes you
Yes.
throw up. So let me.
Those are the drugs.
Yeah.
So, and then you get high. Yes, exactly.
Oh.
So let me. I have a couple of questions because to end this.
Because we need
off
to
with.
wrap this up.
Yes, exactly. We're ending this off. So if,
Devin's had a birthday
there
since
were-
we started.
Okay, there we go.
Devin? Evan.
I've had a
Kevin.
birthmark. Anyway, so if there was a CKCU Hall of Fame, let's say, and let's say I would nominate Mr. Williams as number one. In modestly, I'd nominate myself number two. You, Craig, number three. Who would be the next?
always
Who would
number
be the
three?
next three?
Randy, why am I always number three?
I'd say 1A, B, and C. I'd,
Who would be the next three?
as being part of the good
Hall of Fame,
Lord.
yeah.
Well, Cheryl. Cheryl is a survivor, and she did a lot of good.
Now
she
you
did
have
a
to
lot of-
explain who she is because it's the first time we
Cheryl
met.
Bennett.
Cheryl Bendy. I almost said the N word.
Yeah.
Cheryl Bennett was
Nut, wasn't it?
and is a remarkable person, and she did
All right, the
she
next
did a lot
person.
of good things for the radio station. Well, Jeff, if Jeff isn't
Green.
if Jeff isn't two, if we're 1A, B, and C, then I'd say that Jeff Green is two, because
Okay, and next.
after that, my God.
I think there's a lot of candidates.
There are
There-
so many, like I'm thinking Andrea Thiel, I'm thinking
my
Chuck
God.
Rubin, I'm thinking Paul Munson.
I'm
because-
thinking wrong almost, but actually you're not that far off. What
Munson.
are your next three?
Green and Munson would be there as
And that would be two.
two key people.
I don't care what you think. I think Robbie was important as well.
Yeah, no,
Rob
that's
Braid
Top 10.
was-
Top 10.
Top 10?
Top
There you
10.
go.
that's fair. Robbie
right.
was he was an important part of
Yeah.
the beginnings.
Hey, I didn't want to beat him up in the loading dock. I don't know why you're looking at me.
Well, he's
I did, and that's why I let Andy go.
And, all right. So third one from you.
I'm trying to think of. I think it would be Steve Moretti.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. And my
And Steve, I have to say why Steve Moretti,
All right.
because
'cause
he
he's
was
as short as you are?
he was somebody I could look down to.
Oh, he wasn't that short.
Hey, you just told me that we don't look down on anyone.
Moretti helped a venture, which was I think our only venture into the print medium.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Trans FM,
we imagined Trans FM as a way of communicating with our audience,
Mm-hmm.
as a way of making some money, and a way of reprogramming our programs. You know, we would publish the interviews and so on. And Moretti took these ideas that were bouncing around in my head, and he made that work. And he worked long and hard at that. So
Okay.
I would give Moretti and
Here are my three.
Oh God, do
Oh,
we
here
do
we
we
go.
care,
Here we go.
Randy?
You absolutely, because they
do.
are the absolute right selection.
We do.
Number
Goes
four,
without
four, Jeff Green.
Mm-hmm.
We already mentioned him.
Number, yeah, I know.
you're just copying us.
Number, oh no. Number five, Ron Sweetman.
Rum in a mellow tone.
In a mellow tone, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Number six, Paul Munson.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to add one more because I was kind of torn, and the guy I would add would be Junior Smith. He came, I know, a little bit later,
Yes.
but when we were doing that show, was it the 30th or the 25th? You were spinning electronic dance music in the studio, and a young black man came in to do his show and
yes.
discovered three old white guys in the
Who
station.
are you calling old? I'll beat you with your walker for crying out
Exactly.
loud.
And he, of course, it was his shift. No, he didn't get the memo. He didn't know what the hell we were doing there. And when I explained what was going on, he was very cool about it. And I asked him, I said, so how did you get involved in the station? And he said, when I was a kid growing up in Ottawa, there was a black man on the radio playing reggae music. And
Right on.
I wanted to be like that man. And I thought, we've succeeded. That we planted seeds that we had no idea. You know, you scatter the seeds out there, you have no idea what's going to grow out of them. But Junior Smith, and he's still on the air today, cranking out the reggae, and that's an example of he was a strong programmer right from the beginning
was.
in his
Absolutely.
own field.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Okay, so last question, final question. We'll wrap it up, and this
can
is
I call
important.
a friend?
And this is important because I think it reflects our attitude towards the station and how we judged people. Who do you think, you can name 2 or 3 people, had the best, what I would say, the best ears at Radio Co? Specifically on-air music guys.
Specifically you?
No, well, I do have.
You do.
I think
Yeah,
Sharon
great
Andrews. Did you say ears? Oh, I'm sorry.
I did not say huge tracts of land.
Well,
She didn't.
I mean, Jeff had
Yes.
fabulous
But
ability.
on-air
to hear
announcers.
things. On-air announcers? Holy cow.
Wow, so many.
There are. Jimmy Hercom comes to mind.
Too commercial.
John Kapelos comes to mind. But, of course, he fell asleep one night while we were having a meeting, and we were sitting in my office, and all of a sudden we realized there wasn't anything on the air except shh, shh, shh.
So you're
And
nominating the non-candidates. Is that what you're saying?
I remember going in there, and he's got his arm, he's lying on his arm asleep, and we went in and went, hey! I thought he was going to die.
Oh, I thought he was too.
Well, how about the time someone left the studio and got locked out and the record skipped?